Our Bears are super. And suddenly, Dave Aranda cannot miss in the transfer portal. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor. I am your host, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas and the Rogue Media Network. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. Welcome to another week of Baylor athletics. And if you thought, oh, it's the end of May, there ain't going to be much going on, you could not be more wrong, my friend. And you have come to the right place. We've got a new commit for Baylor football. All of a sudden, Dave Aranda really heating up, starting to get these guys. And this is one that could sneak up on some people, people's radar. Also, kind of recapping what we've seen from Nikki Collin and the Lady Bears in this offseason, and potentially a glitch in the new EA Sports college football game that could have hinted at something for Baylor. But of course, also softball. Keep on dancing. And do they do it in dramatic fashion? That was the story of the weekend. But starting first with what news that we heard at the weekend is another Baylor football commit. This time it's just getting rah-rah for the home team. I know some people think I am too rah-rah on this podcast, but I promise I will be even more rah-rah today because we are talking about, of course, RaRa Dillworth, who comes in from East Carolina, playing the position of linebacker. Now, I know you might be thinking, linebacker at ECU, not much there. But, and look, at this point in the transfer portal cycle, it's not crazy for you to think like that. I think like that most of the time. You know, we're at the latter half of May, and you know the portal opened a month ago. What more are you getting now? And that's what I thought. And no disrespect to RaRa or any of the Dillworths, but that's just what I think at this time in the cycle. But I go in and I kind of look into RaRa Dillworth a little bit, and there's something that surprises me in here. He's coming from ECU, but he is a former North Carolina Tar Heel, so slightly bigger stage, although, you know, ECU's had some pretty good teams here in my lifetime anyway. And he started at Carolina and was also a top 100 recruit going to play for Mack Brown in 2021. A top 100 recruit. I think he was the defensive player of the year in the state of North Carolina, top 10 outside linebacker in the whole state. In fact, one other thing I'm reading here has him as the 84th best player in his class, Under Armour All-American. Like this was a pretty big recruit. And and what you would normally see, because this is where I get surprised again, because normally it would be like, okay, didn't play at all at Carolina, has to go to East Carolina just to get some playing time. And that's not exactly true either. Like, of course, he doesn't, you know, he's not a starter right away, but he appears in 12 games in his freshman year. I'm guessing mostly on special teams. And then in 10 games the next year. So within 2 years on campus, he hadn't started, but he's played in almost all his team's games. Then goes to ECU and has a pretty good season there. Oh, he started every game for the Pirates. Didn't have huge numbers, only a couple of tackles. Only one tackle for a loss. I think he had like 5 tackles total. No, that was in his first collegiate start. But the numbers were not gaudy. He didn't have like really, oh my gosh, this guy's going to come in and save our program type of thing. Let's see. He had 21 tackles on the year. And only 1 tackle for loss. So he was out there. You got a pass breakup too. So I don't know, maybe you could drop him in coverage a little bit. Had 6 tackles was his high for the season. That was early in the season. So as much as I talk about the other guys who Baylor has gotten in this late transfer portal window, so after the spring games, I think the defensive guys they brought in so far before RaRa were starters. Like these guys can come in, and most of them will come in and start for Baylor next year. Kendrick Simpkins was the early window, but Snacks Johnson, the edge from Western Kentucky, whose name is escaping me right now, and I can't believe that. Those guys come in and they're starters. Linus Doel, the nose tackle, is a starter, probably. But you look at RaRa, and this is probably a depth guy. Um, he might see some starts here and there. Of course, he did start in the Americans, so not a terrible level of football last year. He started all their games, but this is a guy who, at the least, I think is a rotational linebacker out there, outside linebacker, which is not a position we have talked about too much this year, because of the needs that they've had on the offensive and defensive line. But we're also talking about a 3-9 team, so there were a lot of needs, and linebacker was a if it were on a 8-4 team, that would be seen as like a huge need for Baylor. But on a 3-9 team, it gets relegated to whatever probably the fourth or fifth biggest position group need. But this is a guy who comes in and does help fill that need. And again, has played some high end football in terms of North Carolina and the ACC, and then ECU, which was not the toast of the conference or anything in the American. He found some time and started there. And while that might not be great, that they weren't a very good team, he also started a full season of college football, started every game. And that, I think, if you asked RaRa in a moment of true honesty, is probably what he was looking for, to go somewhere big. And what he needed to do was get those reps on the field, which he couldn't get at North Carolina. So very excited for that. And by that, I mean, it was news that happened over the weekend. So I'm excited for it. Interested to see how this defense comes together. We know what they're looking for on offense. We're excited to see what the offense is, of course. But seeing how this defense gets built out is what fascinates me, because of having Dave Aranda at the wheel for this unit. Obviously, Matt Powledge is still the defensive coordinator, but we know the head coach is the play caller on the defensive side. And he is also the one who is spearheading the transfer portal. So excited to see kind of how that fits together. I think he'll be more of a depth guy, rotational guy, but I guess the beauty for guys coming into a 3-9 team is, and this is how it should be, like no one's spot is safe. I would say, like, that's when you're coming off a season like that, everyone's got to look over their shoulder, and everyone has to compete at the highest level in practice. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. It is the only place you need to go if you are looking to hire, or if you're on the other end and you're looking for job, and it's for a job. But in terms of that hiring part, it ain't like any other job board. It helps you hire the professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't looking for the job. Okay. And any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users do not visit other leading job sites. I've been in that position in the past. I always look towards LinkedIn. You're not looking there, you're not looking in the right place. In fact, on LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Man, that is so easy. They know what small businesses are doing. They know that you're wearing too many hats to put all your time and resources into, just the hiring process. They keep finding ways to make that process easier. In fact, 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for their hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post that job for free. And for that, terms and conditions do apply. I have focused so much, I'll own this, on the men's basketball transfer portal in this offseason. And they've made the big moves. And by the way, there might be more moves coming. We had a Jared Nunes gift last night of It's All Good, which I think is the new, like, whatever that dancing bear thing is that Aaron Hunt does for football, of like, hey, we're bringing in a recruit. And Steve Henson, I heard on Friday on the Matt Mosley show, said, we're not done building our roster yet. So by the time you're listening to this, I might have already made a video about that. But I say that to say, women's basketball has made some pretty good, if not pretty big moves throughout this offseason. And I really haven't taken a chance to dissect that. A lot of them have happened around some big men's transfers as well. But the big one, and I do mean the big one, for Baylor in this offseason has been Aranette Vonleh. She is a center, post, whatever you want to call her. coming in from Colorado. She is the sister of Noah Vonleh, by the way, which I love, Boston people. And I had tweeted at the time, Nikki Collin needed a post. She needed a presence in the post and in the paint. And she got about the best one that you could get. I mean, truly, probably the best big girl on the market, I would say. Can you say that? Because I would say big man for the men's game. I'll say post or center. That's probably for the best. But you get someone out there who had back-to-back double doubles in the NCAA tournament, took Colorado to the Sweet 16, averaged over, I think it was like 17 points a game last year. She was terrific, like the classic Kim Mulkey type of post, like great post moves, able to score in the paint. The rebounding numbers are not like off the charts good. I think it was like 5 rebounds a game, which is about what he. So that coupled that with the fact that you don't have Asia Blackwell for next year, I don't think it's like tough, but it's just like something, you wish someone would come in averaging 12 rebounds. But then again, who wouldn't want someone coming in and averaging 12 rebounds? Those don't just grow on trees. So you get one of the best post players in the entire nation in Aaronette Vonleh. And I just think that's a huge addition. I wanted to just get that out there. I know, that was a while ago, but adding her as well as as a couple of guards too, and with the guards you have coming back, I think this is rounding into a pretty nice looking roster. I did want to talk about, and like I'm talking like a top 10 roster, not like they'll be pretty competitive. No, this is teetering on potentially a top 10 roster. And Nikki Collin did hint at some more. We were talking about the Jared Nunes thing. She also hinted at the end of last week, like big week in Waco. Just saying. Speaking of like big college sports news, I know not everyone is a gamer. I know not everyone is on Twitter, but this ties in beautifully. The EA Sports college football game, the trailer finally came out. I am going to be out a lot of money to buy a new gaming system plus the game to play it all summer. But college football game is finally coming back. And in the trailer, they have like these teams' traditions. And one of them is Baylor running out onto the field with the smoke at McLean Stadium, and everyone was like, "Oh, cool! Like we're finally getting McLean," because the last time we could only play at Floyd Casey. And then the next thing you notice is the team that's running out on the field is wearing, they're wearing all green uniforms with white letters. That's not what Baylor does. I think white helmets too. Was I right about that? Or green helmets? Baylor doesn't have that. They're green and they're gold, and there's really no white on the uniform at all. But maybe, just maybe, the conspiracy theorists, the tinfoil hats out there were like, what if Baylor is like sent in some new uniforms to EA Sports to put in the game, but haven't released them yet? And you could laugh that off. That's just people being crazy, conspiracy theories. And then Baylor Athletics deleted the tweet that had their part in the trailer. Look, guys, I'm just saying. I can believe in the odd conspiracy theory. I'm buying into this one. Does Baylor basketball? That's what's on the mind. Is Baylor football unveiling new uniforms? And is this the way they're going to do it? I think that would be cool. I think that would be very topical. If you had some like your own mini trailer of Baylor in the college football game and its new uniforms, because it's no secret. There's no hot take here. This is not news, but I don't think anyone really loves the uniforms. They're pretty bland, and they're not. It doesn't feel like a Baylor uniform. And I will admit, at the beginning in 2019 when they unveiled it, I was like, okay, these are fine. I'm into it. But I immediately remember thinking like, I know like going away from the gold helmet just doesn't feel Baylor, man. Like it didn't. And pretty quickly we realized, okay, these are pretty bland. Like there's nothing unique about them at all. And some teams can pull that off because Penn State and Texas have had that for 50, 60, whatever, 100 years. Michigan has it. Ohio State has it. Baylor doesn't have that. Don't have that. TCU doesn't have that. Tech doesn't have that. Oklahoma State doesn't have that. It's okay to not have that. And so it's been a kind of this grading thing the last couple of years when you see, a football team isn't doing too well and they don't even look good while they're doing it. So what a turnaround that would be. That would be a brilliant move by Baylor Athletics and their marketing team to put that out there with like EA Sports, like get in the game. And also here's our new uniforms. We're bringing gold back into this. We're going to do some black uniforms because those have always been cool, whether you like it or not. Who's saying no? I think we would all be on board for that. But again, it's just, we really had a great thing going with the old uniforms. This is, I think, part of the Baylor thing. It was a rebrand, right? Like they wanted to get away from all the things that had gone on the 3 or 4 years that led up to it. And one of the things to distance yourself from Art Briles was to take the team out of the uniforms that they were wearing when Art Briles was there. And when in reality, they were awesome. Like they had kind of a weird number font to it, but it was unique. We were the only ones that had that. We were the first one with the chrome helmets, and the chrome black looked awesome. And I know I've said this before on this podcast, but I'll say it again. I'll get real nostalgic for it. My first year at Baylor was Art's last year. And I tell you, man, there were 3 distinct times of the week that all Baylor football fans looked forward to, and the world would stop. And in no particular order of importance, it was Monday afternoon at 4:00 when the tickets went on sale. Classes would stop. Everything would stop for student tickets. Wednesday or Thursday is when they would announce the uniform on Twitter, what they were wearing that week, and then game day. In no particular order, those were the 3 biggest times of the week. And I know they still do a uniform drop on Twitter, but it's like, oh, we're wearing the pickles. And then last year, I do give them some credit for this. They were like, well, we can't change our uniforms yet. Let's try to switch it up, do some different combos. And there were some bad ones. Like, it's bad enough you lose to Texas State, but it's worse when you do it in a look of gold, green, I believe. And then I think they tried the reverse of that at one point, green, gold. It's just, we didn't ask for that. And then against TCU is the worst combo they might have ever had, which is gold, which is mustard yellow, white jersey with green numbers, no yellow on that at all, and then yellow pants. Oof, Maron, did that look bad. I used to think the worst was that critically bad game at Oklahoma State 2013 that cost them a chance at the college football playoff. They wore black, white, black, and the white jersey had green numbers and a gold paw on the sleeve. So it was very weird. Anyway, we're too deep into that. We did have a team at Baylor this weekend that advanced again in the national tournament. But first, I have to tell you about how today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Okay, we've got so much going on. I know my Dallas people were talking about having both their teams in the conference finals. That's awesome. That really is. You go in there and there's, winner take all games in the NBA and the NHL. We had a game 7 in the NBA yesterday. And FanDuel, what they're going to do is they're going to give you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150. You can bet it on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to make every playoff shot count. That is FanDuel.com/locked-on, LOCKEDON. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. In the midst of the doldrums of a lot of college athletic programs years late in May, there are a select few that get those crowning moments, those awesome college sports moments late in May. Baylor is one of them. The Baylor softball team, for the first time since 2017, is advancing to the Super Regionals. And that alone is an incredible accomplishment. But what this team has been through this season makes it even more incredible. And I'll put my hand up because I know I contributed to this. I actually talked about this on the Pete Souza show. My biggest regret as the host of this podcast was running with the Mackenzie Wilson story as much as I did. And because I honestly, I didn't think it was that big a deal. Actions deserve consequences, sure. But overall, it did not need to be such a besmirching thing by me and some other people in the media, but myself. And so they've been through a lot this season. I didn't want that to be the only thing I talked about from this team because they have really picked themselves up off the mat time and time again this year. So they lose Mackenzie Wilson for the season in an unforeseen circumstance. She was not only probably the best player on the team, but the leader of the team. Very public, was the face of the team. And then they have some injuries early on, and they're kind of clinging to the top 25. And they're not beating ranked teams for a stretch. And they kind of have a makeshift lineup out there. And here they are in the Super Regionals, beating the host of the regional twice in the weekend. Like, that was incredible. So they beat Ole Miss at first. And then just hey, here you go, 3 straight against the host, which is Louisiana. They won it down in Lafayette. So they beat Ole Miss on Friday, gut check win. And then the next day, Saturday, they just kicked the crap out of Louisiana, which I still refer to as Louisiana Lafayette, but I guess you can't do that anymore. The Raging Cajuns beat them 8-0, so run ruled them, beat them in 5. And so this is like, is this team going to go the whole way? Is this the best Big 12 softball team? I've never heard of Texas or Oklahoma. Anyway, they get humbled on Sunday in the early game. Another run rule, 13-0. And it's like, oh boy, here we go. You poked the bear, you woke up the sleeping giant. Now this host team, got some life in a big way after you beat them and pushed them to the brink. They kicked the crap out of you, and you got to pick yourself up off the mat again and play them that day. And just like they have been doing all season, they picked themselves up. They really did. And it was an absolute classic in the Sunday nightcap. Bears win 4-3, but it was like nip and tuck the whole time. They took a 1-0 lead in the first, and then Louisiana scored, I think it was 2 of their own right then, and then they hit a homer in the third inning or the second inning, and we're tied again. Then Louisiana takes the lead their next time at bat. It was like back and forth, and it was the 5th inning, which was so cool. Baylor scores 2. They take the lead 4-3. And then in the 6th, Louisiana thinks they have it. They have a runner on second with 1 out, single up the middle, tying run coming home. My girl said no. She said no, okay? Taylor Strain out there in center field with an absolute seed, like pinpoint, perfect throw to the plate, knock out the tying run at the plate. And then Baylor gets out of the inning because that was not the 3rd out. You had another runner in scoring position with a runner on second advancing on the throw and still got out of that inning. Humongous. But Taylor Strain, I mean, this is the perfect encapsulation of not only this team, but this program on this one play. And what I mean by that, I talked about Mackenzie Wilson and all they had to lose with that. She was the center fielder. Now you have Taylor Strain out there. She makes the biggest play of the season. She stepped up. And in terms of the program as a whole, you know where Taylor Strain's from? Robinson, Texas. Robinson High School. A stone's throw from Baylor. Right across the traffic circle, and you're there. This program, and credit to Glenn Moore, who, look, doesn't need any more credit because it's not like he's underrated. He gets a lot of credit. He deserves it all. All-time great coach. But what he has done so well is either tapped into the potential that this region has for softball, or, and I think more true, made it what it is. This is a terrific region for softball, terrific part of the country for softball here in Central Texas. I mean, you follow any of the softball World Series or anything, there's always a team from around here. Like terrific programs. And, you see it, small school Robinson, and she's making huge plays. And it's just such the perfect encapsulation of the job Glenn Moore has done. here at Baylor, to see, the local products coming up big, the next girl up, woman up mentality. When someone goes down, no matter what, there's someone ready to step in there. And the perfect part about it was Glenn Moore giving all the praise to the players after this, because that is perfectly Glenn Moore, all of that. And so I'm excited about this team. I am not a softball guy. I'm really not. And I've not been as much of a college baseball guy in general the last couple of years either. But this has been terrific softball to watch from this team. And long may it continue. Long may it continue in Gainesville, I believe. Yes, because they're going to take on the Florida Gators, who are ranked number 4. So that would make them the 3rd best team in the Big 12. Anyway, let me know what you think about this Baylor softball team run. Drop that down in the comments below. What you feel about this adding to the roster for Baylor football. I know it's, not the most exciting names at this point, but they're not going to be exciting for most Baylor prospects. It's about what Dave can do with them, and this more hands-on attitude, I think, will help. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. And we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. I hope you had a great weekend. I was in DC, so it's good to be back in the great state of Texas. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you again for making it your first listen today and every day. And we'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Baylor.